students. Today we are going to discuss an important topic, which is the science and the philosophy of education. Dear students, for today's lesson, our main objectives are to discuss the concept of science of education, to discuss pedagogy as a science, to understand the concept of philosophy of education, to explain the scope of philosophy of education, and to describe the impact of philosophy on various aspects of education. First of all, let us try to understand the concept of science of education. Science is the systematic and precise body of knowledge in a particular field of study. It seeks to discover the general laws regulating the phenomena in that field through observation and experiments. As per this definition, education must be taken as a science, since it is a systematic body of knowledge accumulated through ages of observation and experimentation. The science of education helps us to understand concepts such as how the brain remembers information when it is relevant and evokes an emotional response. Researchers have shown that learning changes the brain. The brain has plasticity. It makes new cellular connections and strengthens existing ones as we gain and integrate information and skills. As this knowledge is growing, teachers have increasingly sought to apply it in the classroom. Collaboration among educators and cognitive scientists will enrich both fields. Educators can design instructional methods based on research results, and researchers can assess whether these new methods can enhance student learning or not. Now, let us focus on teaching and learning as a science. Students, how do we learn? This is a question around which a lot of scientific research is going on. As a result, new models of teaching and learning are coming up. There is a lot of thrust on research in pedagogical and cognitive science. In the field of science of teaching, we often hear about the terms like pedagogy and andragogy. Let us briefly discuss the two. Pedagogy. Pedagogy literally means the art and science of educating children. It's often used as synonym for teaching. More accurately, pedagogy embodies teacher-focused education. In the pedagogy model, teachers assume the responsibility for making decisions about what will be learned and when it will be learned. Andragogy. Andragogy was initially defined as the art and science of helping adults to learn. Today, it is defined as an alternative to pedagogy and refers to learner-focused education for people of all ages. Andragogic approach is all about putting the learner in the driver's seat. Dear students, let us now understand the implications of cognitive psychology in the field of teaching and learning. The science of thinking is generally known as cognitive psychology. There is much research going on along other lines with important implications for a science of teaching. Cognitive psychology is in a period of rapid development. A comprehensive theory of cognitive processes has begun to emerge. Teachers should become sensitive to the cognitive levels of their students so that they can match their methods to the capabilities of their students. They should become adept in understanding and recognizing these cognitive capabilities of their students. Now, my dear students, we will be discussing obstacles in uniting science and education. Even as the field of neuroeducation grows, educators will continue to face hurdles. Howard Gardner asserts that with no tradition of applying neuroeducation findings to the practice of teaching, it is difficult to provide benchmark for good work. There are few teacher preparation programs which include courses on cognition and learning. According to Mazzocco, our knowledge of basic cognitive processes is not yet sufficiently advanced to provide solid basis for scientific method of teaching. Dear students, we are now going to discuss the second part of this topic, which is philosophy of education. What is philosophy of education? Philosophy of education is referred to as the use of philosophical tools, theories, methods, and principles for the explanation and solution of the educational problems. It's an applied philosophy. Philosophy of education is essentially a method of approaching educational experiences rather than a body of conclusions. Philosophical methods are critical, comprehensive, and synthetic. Therefore, philosophy of education is the criticism of the general theory of education. It consists of critical evaluation and systematic reflection upon general theories. Let us now try to understand nature of philosophy of education. Philosophy of education is one of the areas of applied philosophy. There are three branches of philosophy, namely Metaphysics, Epistemology, and Axiology. Metaphysics is the study of nature of things. It studies what kind of things exist and what they are like. Axiology is the study of nature of values and value judgments. It explores A. Aesthetics, B. Ethics. Epistemology is the branch of philosophy that studies nature of knowledge. It attempts to answer the basic question of what distinguishes true knowledge from false knowledge. Let's now focus on the scope of philosophy of education. The scope of philosophy of education is concerned with the problems of education. The scope of philosophy of education includes A. Aims and ideals of education. Philosophy critically evaluates the different aims and ideals of education. These aims and ideals have been propagated by various philosophers at different times. B. Interpretation of human values. A philosophical picture of human nature is more broad as compared to picture of man drawn by biology, sociology, psychology, economics, anthropology, and other human sciences. C. Educational values. Philosophy of education not only critically evaluates the values but also systematizes them in a hierarchy. Educational values are determined by philosophical values. D. Philosophy of education is related to knowledge. It is determined by the source, limits, criteria, and means of knowledge. The discussion of all these falls within the jurisdiction of epistemology. E. Relation with other components of education. Philosophy of education provides the criteria for critical evaluation and judgment. It evaluates critically the economic system, the political system, school organization and management, discipline, etc. Functions of philosophy of education. Philosophy of education performs various functions. These functions are: A. It determines the aims of education. B. It harmonizes old and new traditions in the field of education. C. It provides educational planners, administrators, and educators with the progressive vision to achieve educational development. D. It prepares the young generation to face the challenges of modern times. Relationship between philosophy and education. John Adams has beautifully quoted, "Education is the dynamic side of philosophy. It is the active aspect of philosophical belief, a practical means of realizing the ideals of life." Philosophy and education are closely related in the following ways. Number 1. Philosophy and curriculum. Curriculum is the means through which the educator can realize his goal. It defines the curriculum. Philosophy also decides why a particular subject should be included in the curriculum. Number 2. Philosophy and methods of teaching. Methods are means through which the goal of education can be realized. Different philosophies advocate different methods of teaching. Number 3. Philosophy and teacher. Philosophy of education is an applied and practical philosophy for teachers, administrators, and educators. Number 4. Philosophy and discipline. Regarding the nature of discipline, philosophers differ in their use. Philosophers who support liberal view reject the traditional notion of authority. According to them, the teacher is not an absolute authority, but an integral element of the group. Thus, philosophy determines the nature and form of discipline. It tells us whether school discipline should be strict and rigid or flexible and free. Number 5. Philosophy and evaluation. By evaluation, we can get exact ideas of what students actually achieve from their teaching learning process. According to conservative philosophers, intellectual development of the students can be judged in terms of their mastery of the subject. The liberal school takes the help of variety of techniques and methods to measure the personal and social development of the students. Number 6. Philosophy and textbooks. Philosophy is greatly involved in the choice of textbooks. The contents of the textbook must mirror the philosophy or way of life of the people. Textbooks are meant to spread the ideals of democracy, secularism, and socialism as enshrined in the Constitution. Number 7. Philosophy and behavior. Philosophy makes a student broad-minded, generous, and tolerant. Through philosophy, a student can be taught refinement in his attitude and even conditioner to a desirable behavioral pattern. Whether a child is high or low in thoughts, brave or cowardly, joyful or gloomy, faithful or faithless, can be determined by his philosophy. My dear students, we can easily conclude that both scientific as well as philosophical bases are important for education. While philosophy provides theoretical basis, science brings empiricism in the process of education. In the present age, we cannot think of education without a solid scientific basis. Hence, if we want a progressive system of education, we have to take on board both science and philosophy to form our system of education, its subject matter, methodology and other areas. Dear students, with this, we conclude this very important topic of the day. Hope you have enjoyed the lesson. For now, it's time to say goodbye. Stay happy and blessed.